Brad Dwyer's elbow, how bad is it?
Well, it's broken. He's got a broken bone there, so we did that against Huddersfield a few weeks ago now. And quite often with these fellas, they pick a knock up, and it's really painful. And later on in the week, he settled down enough so he could play, but it's never been right. And then we just got it scanned, building up to Wigan, and he's got a broken bone in there. It's going to take anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks to heal. So I think, as I said, as I've been speaking with my physio, I think if we really needed him to play for a final or a knockout game, he'd take to the field and be able to do a job. Doesn't have much strength in his arm, but he'll be able to do a job. But if he receives a direct impact on that, you know, we're talking shattering bones, you know, knocking bones out of place and all that, which would be like a 3-4 month job. So, we had to stand him down, and we just got to let that heal. We can't rush it.
Am I right in thinking he didn't know he'd done it at the time?
Nobody knew he'd broken it. I mean, he'd done it. He knew he'd banged his elbow. He knew he was in pain. But you know, after going and seeing the physio, simply, in a real simple version of what the physios do, they say, "Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you touch that? Can you squeeze this? Can you grip that?" And if so, therefore you can crack on. You know, the physio's job's not to rule them out; it's to get them on the field. And he did that for the next couple of weeks. You know, he was able to do certain things, and while he wasn't 100%, you know, he took to the field and toughed out. Played a really good game against Wakefield, by the way, when he came on. He pretty dynamic a couple of weeks ago. So, but was complaining of his elbow all the time, and then we get it checked out, and he's actually broken bone in there. Crazy.
Yeah, crazy. How much of a headache does it give you selection-wise in that position?
Yeah, we've got to manage certain things. So, especially with Jack Walker out as well, you know, so that pivot that you can usually carry on the bench, you know, we're missing him at the moment. So it's a challenge.
What about the sort of mid to longer term injuries? Are they coming back on schedule?
Nathaniel Ptoo will be available for Hull KR, I think. Whether he plays or not, we'll decide that. We've got to check out, you know, he's getting close to the Mick scar, but we've just got to wait for that to heal up on its own. You know, when you've had drilling done in your knee, you can't rush it. There's certain things you can't do. You just got to let that scab over, heal up, scab drops off, or however it was put to me. So he's going to be still a few weeks. Sutcliffe getting closer, and we'll check on him. Brad Singleton misses out this week with something to do with his ankle. But when the physio was halfway through the sentence, I just thought, well, he's done enough so far. He's due a week off, Brad. And, you know, if he was fit, he'd play, there's no doubt. But I wouldn't patch him up and send him out. He's done an incredible amount of workload for us in recent weeks. He's been doing that on his own, so, you know, rest that ankle up and get ready for week after.
Who's going to take the strain up there in his absence?
As usual, most of the pack, most of the back rowers. Adam Cuthbertson's back for his second week. You know, he came back last week after being out for so long, and I thought he was okay, you know, in terms of fitness and sharpness. He'll be better, you know, he'll improve again this week, but you know, I'm not going to put the responsibility of the pack on him. He's still warming up. Brett Delaney will feature at front row, and between Stevie Ward, Jamie Jones and Carl Ablett, they've got some grunt to do, and you know, and that's, you know, it affects what your outside backs do. It affects how much platform that your halves have got to play from. And on reflection, over the last probably 6 weeks, we've done a reasonable job, knowing that we've been missing all those blokes. So, you know, we're not out of the woods either, because Peter's not back, Garbutt's not back. We haven't replaced Keith Galloway yet, and we can't rush and do that. We're not just going to go get anybody in, any big lump in. You've got to be able to do a job. And you've still got some moments to chew through.
Do you think you will replace Keith Galloway this season?
I hope so, but I can't guarantee that we will. What the criteria is, and it's not set in stone, the criteria, but the dynamic of Keith Galloway we missed. I thought we missed him last year. It made it really difficult to play that we wanted to play, and any team will tell you the same, that you've got to have some some diesel burner in your team that just relentlessly makes you 6, 7, 8 metres. That just gives everybody else a breather. That maybe they're either organising a play or somebody's anticipating a quick play of the ball from that carry. Every team's got one, maybe every team's got 2 or 3. And when we lost Keith, then what Mitch Garbutt normally got away with, didn't get away with as much because he's carrying some of Keith's carries. Cuthbert's game changed dramatically. The halves didn't have much to play off, so we never really quite replaced Keith. And then we get him back, and you know the same happens again, and he's now retired, and we haven't replaced him. So to get back to how do we replace him? Why don't we replace him? It's pointless go getting a big lump in. We've already got a couple of big lumps. I know they're injured, but we would need somebody who can do a specific job for us, who's of a certain standard, who can play at Headingley and not feel the pressure, who can carry the responsibility in away games, who can play for Leeds Rhinos and put a shirt on. Why are those blokes available? If they're available, why are they available? If there's somebody who's got some history about them, got a number of games under the belt, maybe they're a seasoned international, I don't know, but why are they available? If somebody tells me that there's a name available right now, you get a bit suspicious and think, well, why? So it's just one of those weird ones that we need to replace him for sure, but we're not rushing. Won't make a knee-jerk reaction, and if it takes time to do that and get somebody in, we'll make sure they get the right bloke in, we'll do that.
How do you gauge Hull at the moment?
Possibly a bit like us, you know. Did some good stuff, doing some good stuff. A couple of slip-ups. Not a million miles away. Potentially an extremely dangerous team. On the day they can click and they'll put 40 points on you, and you won't have played poor, but they can put 40 points on you. You know, they're an over at their place, a challenger.
You take confidence from the recent record against them. You've done pretty well. I think was it 4 wins against them last year? Maybe, but they bumped us out the Challenge Cup, didn't they? You know, they dumped us out the Challenge Cup in the semi. So, you know, I'm sure Lee Radford he'd be happy with that record. You know, they lost 4, but you know they've done us in the Challenge Cup. So no, I don't think there's anything in that. Yes, if you're a punter, maybe you look at some of that, but as I've said, it's they're always tussles of games, and I know Lee Radford said some stuff in the past like. They always struggle to play against us, or there's a certain dynamic about us that his team struggles with. I'm not sure if that's true. I just think you know, they're always tussles of games. We never wipe the floor with them. It isn't that they can't get up for us or anything like that. And at the drop of a hat, things can click. And as I say, they'll put 3 tries on you within 3 sets, and there's not much you can do. When Albert Kelly gets the ball off a quick play of the ball, he's one of the best players in the game, one of the strongest players in the game. We often talk about treating him like a forward, putting your body in front of him like he's a big dynamic front rower, because you need that level of strength to tackle to be able to deal with him. So you add a Shaw in there, and an on-form Josh Griffin and Minicello. They've got some real strike. Hull. The task is to set a tempo of the game and control the game so we don't see the best of them. Easier said than done, isn't it? Can we talk Jamie Jones Buchanan? 400 games if he plays.
Yeah.
How special a landmark is that?
Well, it is for him, because he spent a lot of his time strapped up and in a cast and laid up, and you know, for him to reach 400 is massive. And what's he been playing, like 27 years or something like that, hasn't he? I played against Jamie Jones. That gives you an indicator of how old he is. Do you know when the 3 were here, Lulawai, Peacock and Simfield, Jonesy was always a real special member of the squad, always a really important bloke in the squad. You couldn't imagine the team or the squad or the club without him. He always was, and you know, he was never just another soldier. He was never just a rank and file soldier. Always had that leadership in him, but he never got a chance to show it. Didn't need to show it, and would often talk himself. I think he calls himself
a prophet rather than a messiah or something. He's got a phrase, I'm not sure, one of them weird ones. I think what he's trying to say is he's just like a run-of-the-mill bloke. He's trying to say, yeah, I am rank and file. I'm not one of the good ones. But he always was. But we never needed to see it. We never unearthed it. But obviously, since those three have retired, and especially over the last couple of seasons, he's been fantastic. You want to have some comfort as a coach that whatever you're giving them, you hopefully works and they make sense of it. But you've got some blokes in the team that can implement it for you as well. And I used to have JP. JP was like having a coach on the field in training. He just listening to some of the things he would make other people do. It's quite comical, really. But and Jonesy's got some of that about him now. You know, when he speaks, he has a certain reverence. There's a certain presence about him. People listen, and mainly because if there's a tough tackle to make or a tough carry, he's there. He's in the mix of it, and he's always had some quality about him. But he's got some offence to his game. He's got some strike to his game. He's not the biggest strike player I've got. I'm not trying to tell you that, but he's got just a genuine all-round game now, and he's one of the most deepest, emotionally intelligent, weirdest men you're ever going to come across. Honestly, he's so entertaining, but worrying as well at the same time that he's talking to some of our young fellas. If he's converting them into him, they're going to be great people and they'll be fantastic rugby league players, but they'll be odd as well. I can guarantee you that.
Ryan, with all the wonderful things you've just said about Jamie Jones.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Lovely
things.
word.
Could he have been captain this season? Was he a consideration?
Yeah, for sure. He could have been. He didn't want to be. Well, I don't know if that's true. Actually, I think he would. I think if I'd have said yes, you're captain, but I think that's if I'm going to be greedy. What Callum has done over the last 2, 3, 4 seasons really has grown, matured, and he's ready to take that on. And I know to get the best out of Callum this year and for the next 2 or 3 seasons will be to make him captain. So selfishly, if you like, or not selfishly, but for what's best for the club's interest and team interest, Callum Watkins is captain. The selfish part is, or the sneaky part, if you like, is that I know I'm going to get a leader out of Jamie Jones as well, almost captain-like. So I think Jonesy would have been disappointed, as was Stevie Ward, as was maybe another couple, when we named Callum captain. But they wouldn't have held any grudges or anything like that. It's just that they wanted to be captain, but they all rate Callum. I just can tell the way when he speaks, there's just a million heads nodding, and I think Jonesy speaks more than Callum anyway. You know, Jonesy has more moments with the team than Callum right now, and Callum's cool with all that happening. He doesn't feel the need to speak all the time. So, just simply put, I reckon I've got more than one captain in my team, but certainly Jonesy fills that role.
How long do you think Jamie's got left in him? I don't know if any thoughts have gone on between you and him, or discussions beyond sort of this season. What's your view on it?
I think when Jamie Jones is running down the field and his leg drops off and he has to turn around and go pick it back up, that's when he'll retire. I think that's when he'll think, that's it. His arm will drop off or something like that, or his foot will be facing the other way, because he's loving it. You know, and he's loving the tough moments as well. He's a pretty intelligent fella, and he knows even when it gets tough, there are some moments there that he can relish and improve. And you know, you listen to him speak for any length of time. He often talks about diamonds are formed from pressurized coal or something, and he's, you know, millions and millions of years of things coming under pressure. He loves the whole package at the moment, and he's playing really well. And I'm not after retiring him. You know, if he wants to say this is his last season, that's up to him. But if he wants to go again next year, there's a conversation to have. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. You know, especially with the wave of talent we've got with the young fellas and the Mikkeleys and Cam Smiths and those people who are, and Ash Hanleys, who are all learning and benefiting from having people like Jonesy in the team.
So some of your newer additions this year, I know different case I guess with Ptoo. It's a shame about Brad, but how impressed have you been with the likes of Brad and Richie Myler this season? I remember going to a training session quite early on, pre-season. They were quite good, or they seemed quite good with some of the younger players. I'm just wondering how impressed you've been with their attitude and performance.
Very much so. I mean, they've both got Tourette's. That's a fact. Not swearing Tourette's, but they've both got to speak. They are good. I'm being silly. They're very good. They, right from the off, I think most people who come into a new team will, you know, just bide the time and settle in as and when. But especially with those two people, play very pivotal roles as well. I suppose it's easy to do what I've just talked about with as a front rower or an outside back, where I suppose your pivotal influence on the game is not as much. But for Richie, who's the leading half back, and for Brad Dwyer, who's going to control what goes on around the ruck, you have to speak. You've got to speak, and they were doing that straight away. Richie Myler's influence over us off the field and on the field, I think it's apparent for everybody to see. I think he's settled in really well, and more to come from him. His relationship with Mooney, his relationship with some of the outside backs, his on-field relationship with them, and what he gets going with them with some winks and nods and some of those combinations. You know, we can see more of that coming. Brad Dwyer's had more of a frustrating time, but I think again, when he's had an injury-free run, he's shown his worth. I thought he was great against when he came off the bench against Wakefield, and compliments Matt Parcell. You know, two different dynamics in the team. So they've both been good.
Approaching the midway point, I guess, of the season, shortly.
Are we?
I imagine it's not too far away, is it? In terms of games, in terms of.
What round is it?
Right. The regular few games.
We haven't played Catalans. I think we haven't played it. This is the first double.
We play 30 rounds, don't we?
30 rounds, yeah.
30 rounds.
23. Yeah.
What round are we now?
10.
Did you go to school?
I did. In terms of the
2 10s of 20?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
In terms of last week at Wigan, is that another important learning experience for your players to be in that position, to see that lead taken away, to lose it at the death? I know we had something similar with Cass. That was a very different learning experience, but here at Headingley, do players need to go through something like that at this stage in the season, do you think?
You would say no, they don't need to, but yeah, I've got to be careful that I don't sound like I'm happy that we lost, or I'm not bothered about that we lost. But there is some worth in losing like that, for sure. I mean, you go get pumped off a team and you learn very little. You just got to dust yourself down and get on. And you can maybe learn through some people's reaction and learn individually. But as a team, if you're just not at the races and you get turned over, you got to manage it. But at the same time, you just got to push that to one side. That one against Wigan on Friday night, with so many learning points in that, so disappointing that we were so much in control of the game. It wasn't a high quality game as well, by the way. I don't think Wigan's attack stressed us out at all, but at the same time I thought our defence just suffocated them. They were getting more and more frustrated, but we dropped off. You know, straight after half time it looked different. Certainly when we went 8 points up, we got the wrong version. We played the wrong version of being in front, and we've been really good with that for the last 2 years. Really good with that ever since the Widnes loss, actually, in 2016. Really good about managing tight games and knowing what the scenario is. We just played like we were 20 points in front, and we wasn't bothered, and it was almost like there was 6 seconds left on the clock, and there wasn't. There was more than enough time for Wigan to get back into it. So without any bold statements, but it'll be a long while before that happens to us again, because of the learning process we've been through this week.
Just the last one on Adam Cuthbertson and the ladies' side as well. First win for them over the weekend against Bradford. He was telling me that he was talking to you and saying that he doesn't know how you do it and deal with sort of the players a week in, week out. Is that another great experience for a player such as him? Do you think more players should have that experience where they understand what it's like to be you?
Do you know, there are so many lines I could use, honestly. I mean, Cuthbert coaching a women's team. I mean, he coached a women's team. I think it's good when I remember coaching a junior team with a mate of mine called Carl Chapman, who coached at Eastmoor Dragons. His dad used to run the amateur club, Eastmoor Dragons. His dad actually revamped the club and got it back to where it should be. And Carl was such an important figure at Eastmoor at the junior club. There were no juniors when he went back there, just to give him a bit of credit. There were no juniors played at Eastmoor at a certain year. Don't ask me what year it was. and it was Carl that set the junior teams back up again. Can you imagine that? An amateur club as important as Eastmoor in Wakefield. We've got the history they have that let their juniors fall away. And his son started playing at the age of 9, so you've got all his mates together from school, they started playing, and you know they've got a great junior setup now. And at the time he asked me, would you want to come and get involved? And they were about 11 then. I had no aspirations of coaching, but I just thought, yeah, I do a bit. I played with Carl as an amateur, and I would socialise with him on a Saturday night every now and again. He said, why do you come and help me? And I could see the worth in it. I was never that bothered about coaching, but I could see the worth in it straight away. These young 11-year-old kids crawling out from under stones and bushes to come training on a Tuesday and Thursday night with us. It was from the wrong side. You know, some of them, a lot of them, from the wrong side of the tracks, if you like. And what the benefit I got from coaching and saying certain things to players on a Tuesday and Thursday night, and then having to go and play. I was still playing at the time. I remember being on the field thinking, I better be good here. I've just been talking about this last night with the kids. They'll be watching. And it does it weirdly. All players say the same thing, those that coach. It does improve you. It again makes you more accountable. I mean, why they're not listening to the coach anyway, I don't know, but it does make them accountable.
So you're hoping for the same and expecting the same experience for Cuthbertson?
Well, he's coaching the women's team, the ladies team, as you put it. So I don't know whether that's a different dynamic. It shouldn't be. It doesn't need to be. But you've got to understand, Cuthbert's one of the most oddest men, other than Jamie Jones. That's I think this club's ever signed.
So I'll watch with interest. And you're talking about a bloke who's got such a particular game. Cuthbert's game's different, isn't it? You know, he's different from Mullally. Mullally's got a real niche in the game with being big, strong and running hard, and Cuthbert could play 6, he could play centre for you, but he plays front row because he's 110 kilos. So I'm not sure whether coaching the ladies team will improve his game. It probably had a different dimension to it. I'll let you know whether that dimension is beneficial to us or not in a few weeks' time.
Perfect.